Welcome to another episode of the Doctors Building Wealth podcast. Today, we have the pleasure of having Dr. Takashi Nakamura here, and he is the founder and CEO of AIR, which he'll tell us about. He's also an emergency medicine physician, and we're really excited to have him here today. So, Takashi, can you start out by telling us a little bit about yourself and your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. It's such an honor and pleasure to hang out with you folks. And every time I get the opportunity to do that, it's just so fun and magical. And I get to pick your folks' brains. So thank you for having me today. So I'm Takashi. I am an emergency medicine physician by training. I finished residency in 2014, moved back home to Hawaii, where I was an emergency doctor at a level 1 trauma center for several years. And I am now a telemedicine expert and specialist, but really, this all kind of happened by accident. You know how people are like accidental landlords? That's the same thing for me. I was an accidental telemedicine specialist. What I really wanted to do, it was right before COVID happened. I wanted to find another source of income, and I wanted to find a way to leave, maybe take some shifts away from the emergency department so I could be more present with my family. So my daughter was turning 5. She got into a preschool. She started doing some preschool activities. And so I thought, maybe telemedicine can help me kind of supplement some income. And so I got licensed in a handful of states, and I started doing some basic telemedicine work as a side gig, really. And I was trying to see maybe 5 or 10 patients a day on my own time. And I found that if I do that, I can make an extra few $1,000s per month. And even I counted, I was like, wow, I can make maybe $50,000 or $100,000 per year doing this as a side gig. And so with that, I was then able to shave some shifts off the ER. And I really was concerned because I think, emergency doctors specifically, we tend to burn out. I wasn't burned out yet. This was right before COVID. And I knew that I didn't want to be an emergency doctor in my late 50s. I think the average lifespan for an ER doc is 57 or 58 years old, which is crazy. And I was like, I didn't want to get into that trap. And so like people in your community, who want to look at real estate or other types of income streams, that's what I was thinking. So I did some telemedicine, kind of got my feet wet, did so many consults per day. I was able to take some shifts off of the ER. I was able to be more present with my family. And what I realized was it was a lot more fun and more fulfilling than I had ever imagined. I was initially doing the typical synchronous type of phone and video consultations. And it was initially an urgent care, so it wasn't that much more fun or anything. But then I started looking into things like longevity care, men's health, women's health, and there were some other opportunities popping up. And then I got licensed in 50 states in DC, which was really, really rare at the time. Nobody did it. I think I was one of 50 people or something to do that about 4 to 5 years ago. And that just opened up this world of opportunities. I saw this different galaxy in another field while doing medicine. And when I started doing that and I got more opportunities, maybe in the more administrative type of positions like medical directorships, some other entrepreneurial roles, I became, my own self business. I got my LLC, I became a business. I started doing some more contract work. And next thing you know, I was taking more and more shifts out of the ER and just really enjoyed being self-employed and picking up other types of contracts. And then I left the ER about 3.5 years ago now. My last shift was January 1st, 3.5 years ago.
Wow. Okay. There's so much to unpack there. So first of all, talk to us about getting licensed in 50 states, because I know we were back in Hawaii actually in 2017,
We're trying to get one
2018.
license.
Yes. And we had come from Seattle. And we were getting licensed in Idaho.
Oh, right.
Obviously, we already had Washington. We got it in California. We got it in Montana. And it was so much work. We were going to CVS and getting fingerprinted. So to get 50 states, I can't even imagine. And to kind of go out and be really one of the first people doing this. Can you talk to us a little bit about fear and then also the logistics of how you did that and how that maybe has shifted now?
Oh my gosh, yeah, totally. I remember same thing when I was completing residency, trying to get licensed back home in Hawaii. And I remember that took like 8 months. And I know for others, it took longer than that. And having
Angie had to go to the place to get it after
Yes.
like a year.
Yeah, same. I physically had to go there countless times because it's a manual process. And I remember thinking, oh gosh, I'm never going to be able to work in Hawaii because of how long it took and how just what a process that was. But what I did was, I got lucky. Back then, my niche really was just my location. I was here in Hawaii, so I was able to work where it'd be evening here, it'd be overnight in the mainland. So people needed overnight coverage for primary and urgent care. And there was one specific company that I worked with who wanted me to be the night doc. And so they helped license me. So having a licensing specialist is, while they are going to take a little bit, they're going to, charge you a percent. It was really helpful for me. So I do recommend, if you're going to get licensed in more than just a handful of states, look into a licensing specialist, because again, it's just going to take all of that extra time and the fingerprints, and they even have like digital fingerprinting now where you just get one set of fingerprints and you can use that to then apply to other states. So I would highly recommend that, because I did the manual way too. I had so many fingerprints. I remember being at a place for like 2 or 3 hours just getting fingerprinted to try to get nationally licensed. It's not like that anymore if you get a licensing specialist. So I would recommend that. It's otherwise it's really tedious and it could take a long time. And in some states, it's still a very manual process where you have to make those phone calls and keep bugging them and say, hey, did you look at my application?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, so it sounds like not much better.
Well,
just a little bit better than what we went through. What about fear? I mean, you're one of the few people doing this. I remember in 2017, 2018, we were doing this. The reason we were doing it was our hospital had other sites, had been kind of absorbed by another system, had other sites in more rural places where they needed people to be covering as hospitalists. But even back then, there was like so much, I remember a lot of fear that I had about like, oh my gosh, there's gonna be so many EMRs. I'm gonna be on call for 5 hospitals at once. Like, how am I gonna handle that? Like, so I know I had a lot of chatter in my head. I'm sure you did too.
Oh, of course. I would say it's no different from getting into real estate. There's that fear of the unknown and having to learn a different language. Similarly, with telemedicine, there is a little bit of a different language, because you have to learn not just what the EMR you're working with at your brick and mortar, but other types of EMRs. So the way I started doing telemedicine was working for other companies. And every company that I have a contract with and I work for has a different type of EMR. So it's just getting that muscle memory in and having to onboard with every single company. It is difficult. And as you get used to it, I think it becomes much easier. Really, it's really about just getting in there and getting started first. And there's going to be some unknowns, but as you folks know, it's just, you just got to do it. You do it and then you try to figure it out later. And I think I would recommend that for anyone doing telemedicine, because medicine alone, that's not a different language. We know how to practice medicine. We know what good care and standard of care is. So I think that part makes it a little bit easier. I would say it's easier to get into telemedicine than it is to get into real estate.
So you transitioned to full-time telemedicine, but when did you start AIR, or where did the idea come from, and how did that happen?
Well, I was working for several companies doing contracts, and I was self-employed, and I was able to create my own schedule because I was an independent contractor. And even clinically, I thought, gosh, I'm doing things so different compared to other people. I'm like kind of a nomad in telemedicine, and I was picking up things I wanted to. I was able to negotiate higher payment, and I was able to work with different types of payment models, not just with like Medicare, Medicaid, private payer type of things, but through subscriptions and through like a fee for consults type of payment model. And I was able to be more flexible with my time. And I thought, we're doing things. And I had a friend that was we have, of course, friends in the space. And I had a good friend who I convinced to be licensed nationally too. And we thought, we're holding on to this secret, and there's another way for doctors to do things. They could be nomads and you could be a contractor. And we thought that maybe we could start teaching this stuff. We joined the mastermind. We started meeting a bunch of other coaches doing similar things. And we asked about it and thought, I think there is an opportunity for us to teach other people how we do it. And even if it's a side gig or even if it's something that you don't, while we went into it like full out, we went all in and eventually quit our brick and mortar. Even if you didn't want to do that, I think there's a lot of things to learn that things that we did, we made a lot of mistakes. And I tell you, I did a lot of things non-compliantly with new digital health startup companies, thinking that the company was compliant, but really there was just a group of business people trying to tell physicians what to do and realized that we were doing things wrong and we could have easily been busted, So those types of things, I think we learned a lot of that and we put it into like a package, put it into a package, make it into a course and maybe try to coach people on how to do it compliantly. And I think doctors, we all want to do things right and compliant. And I think a lot of people are hesitant in taking that first step. So we thought we could help. We opened up a course and it was crazy. We were looking for just 25 people in our beta and we oversold in a week and a half. Oh my gosh, there's a huge need. I think there's a big desire for this. And so, yeah, that's when we thought, okay, I think this is serious. We gotta get on it. And then we started creating a curriculum after we got our 25 members.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Yeah, there's a real need. And what we've seen is actually people who are in our community become real estate investors. Now they know they can make money other ways. Their mind is just kind of open and they want that geographic freedom. And telemedicine serves that so well. Like the combination of being a real estate investor, having that source of income, doing telemedicine. We've seen people in our community not have to, be in a brick and mortar place and have that ability to move now. So can you talk a little bit about kind of who you see it work well for? Okay, because you have to have a certain amount of courage, like you're talking about, and a certain amount of, hey, I'm going to figure it out when I get there, because there are a lot of EMRs and all those pieces. So can you talk about who this is really well suited for and who you see really do this successfully?
Yeah, I think the really successful ones are entrepreneur in spirit. And so pretty much everyone in your community, right? So if people are in your community looking at real estate, they're trying to find that other source of income or looking at other types of opportunities. In our community, we taught 110 people through our academy. And gosh, I don't know the exact number because I know a lot of them are in real estate, not just like real estate investors, but they're like in your community. Some are like in some of your smaller, really advanced communities. They're like real estate moguls or gurus. And I know for a fact, we have 3 real estate coaches who are part of our community too. So I think a little bit of entrepreneur spirit goes a long way, even in telemedicine, because you can start doing things more than just clinical work. You can start advising. You can look at things like equity, being part of a bigger business and things like that.
And you also mentioned, you weren't just doing urgent care, you were doing other things. Can you talk about the other options? Because people may think I'm an internal medicine doc, I can only do internal medicine kind of visits, but there's more. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, telemedicine, I think that right now, if you have a strong interest in it, there's so many new fields out there, like longevity is one that's it's new, but so many people are interested in. And they started having some certifications out for that. But really, if you're starting to take courses and if you have a genuine interest in it, there's an opportunity for you to get in there as a clinician. And you can treat people, you can do consultations as a longevity doctor. And as you get more comfortable, you can start, getting certified in it, and you can even be an expert and get on a panel. So I think there's so many new fields out there. Longevity is one, weight management, things like hormonal replacement, like HRT with both women's and men's health. These fields are new. There's no residency or there's no fellowship for these types of things. So if you have a genuine interest in it, it's really easy to get. I think the barrier to entry with these types of fields, very low. Now, I'm an emergency doctor, so I'm comfortable with a lot of things. So when I got in, initially, like I said, it was primary and urgent care, but then I got interested in men's health. And then a women's health company hired me. And then I started doing weight management. I started doing some longevity things. I really just, whatever, I guess this path took me, I was working for some companies and just trying it out and seeing if it fit me or if I enjoyed it or if I wanted to learn more. And I just went at it. Now, there are some things that I didn't do just because the opportunities weren't there. But, there, like I said, there's no certifications. Well, now there is for like lifestyle medicine. I think there's obesity. There's an obesity board that people can take now. You don't have to go through a fellowship. You just take your CMEs and you sit for a board exam. You can get credentialed and things, but really, wherever you're interested in, I say just have an open mind and try it out.
And Takashi, can people who have their own medical clinics add telemedicine through what you do to their clinics and do it that way?
Yeah, totally. What's interesting is I think before COVID, there were only like 1 in 5 doctors utilizing some form of telemedicine. But post-COVID, it's like 90% right now. So 9 out of 10 doctors are utilizing some form of telemedicine in their practice. What I found is many of them are doing it for their employer or as an add-on. So they're not really using it to benefit themselves. So what I would recommend is if that's the case, if your W-2 employer is asking you to do some telemedicine, I would say try to look outside of that and try and be an independent contractor and look at other opportunities out there. Then you can have more flexibility and you can really delve into things that you enjoy.
Now, you mentioned a partner. So I was curious to see what you would say about, if you had any thoughts about partnerships and how to have an effective partnership. And so I understand you have a partner that you've been working with and you continue to work with. So can you tell us about your experiences so far?
We're like you two. It's a marriage.
Partnerships are a marriage.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny. We agree all the time and we disagree all the time. And we always seek advice elsewhere. And what I've learned from this is to obviously seek other people's advice. Like you folks. I mean, I ask you folks all the time, like, what's it like when you folks disagree on things and how do you come to an agreement and things? It's really about respecting the other person. And I think that as long as we hear each other out, I think oftentimes when we get into disagreements, we're not hearing each other out. And at the end, it's just like, hey, I just need to be heard. Just hear me out. And then you can disagree. And I think that's where it starts. I think we just really have to listen to each other and know that it's a marriage and we're in it for the long haul because we are 50-50 partners in a couple of companies. So, we can't disagree. We have to find some solution. And so sometimes a third party person who's able to be more objective with a solution because we have a little bit of emotion with that. But no, we make it work. We're best friends at the end of the day.
Wow. Yeah. 50-50 partnerships, I think, is the most challenging of all of them.
Yeah.
We put one of us in charge of each of the businesses. So one person ultimately gets to make the final decision. But we've even had contracts where we built with partners who are 50-50 and we said rock, paper, scissors is going to solve it. Because the truth is, if you both have really strong perspectives and they're completely different perspectives and you're putting the company first, like it probably at that point can be resolved by rock, paper, scissors because it's not clear what the right answer is.
That's right. You're right. When you're both putting the company first, we both have the best intentions. So it's just a matter of which way we end up choosing to go. You're right. I don't think that it's a wrong answer either way.
So I know you do a little bit of real estate investing too. Can you talk about maybe how that fits in? Because it's so interesting. I think our perspective is real estate is just one vehicle, right? Entrepreneurship is a different vehicle to get that other source of income. But a lot of times we love real estate because it's an opportunity to have a business, but not have all the work of a startup, right? Because a startup is a totally different beast compared to buying a property and running it, right? So how do you see that kind of fitting in what you do?
Just like how real estate is another source of income or is just one other thing in your portfolio, I think telemedicine can be that as well. So if you want telemedicine to be the side gig to make extra income, you can. If you want telemedicine to give you more time flexibility so we can focus on real estate, you can do that as well. So I think they're very complementary in that sense. I think that it's easier to get into telemedicine, but that's me being biased here, than it is real estate. And yeah, I think we can make all of that work. You can invest in your future. You can still be at your brick and mortar. You can do a little bit of telemedicine. You can do a little active real estate. You can do some passive real estate. You can travel, and I think telemedicine can allow you to do all of that.
I'm curious about, you were saying travel. Can you practice telemedicine while being abroad?
So there's ways you can do it. And I would definitely partner with the company to see how I can do this while traveling, if that makes sense. So there's like traditional payment models, there's traditional models like CMS, Medicare, Medicaid, where you absolutely cannot. You have to at least stay in the United States and you'd have to have a certain type of modality of care synchronously. Sometimes it has to be through video and has to be in real time. There are other things out there and different types of models where a doctor does not have to be located in a certain area. It doesn't have to be a certain time. If you do things asynchronously, for example, through like a chat-based telemedicine where there's an understanding upfront that you don't have to answer each other's messages, immediately. It can be done within 24 to 48 hours. You can do that in the middle of the night in Japan, if you'd like, you know what I mean? Or in Hawaii or in Puerto Rico. So there's those types of asynchronous models where you can kind of do a little bit more of while you're traveling. And I like to travel a lot. That's one of my passions. I love to be with my family. I want to be present for them. I want to do everything with my family, but I also want to travel with them. So I try to find jobs out there that allow me to do that.
And here's a vote for Puerto Rico, right? Because 2 to 4% tax. And this is work you're doing remotely. And,
right.
You could be in Puerto Rico 6 months a year and, get that tax
Totally.
benefit.
Yes, totally. There are a lot of telemedicine doctors that end up moving to like Nevada or Texas or Florida. Puerto Rico is another one. It's really hard to get licensed in Puerto Rico though, but we're working on that.
Okay, but I think the real benefit for those of you listening interested in lowering your tax rate to 2% is you want to be providing telemedicine services to the mainland, though, right? Not providing telemedicine services here locally.
In Puerto Rico,
yeah.
No.
So living in Puerto Rico, providing telemedicine services to really anywhere on the mainland. And I would think that location-wise, since it's a U.S. territory, it should be allowed, right? You should be able to take care of.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And let me tell you, actually, there's high demand for practitioners in Puerto Rico too. So you can live there or not live there. If you can get licensed in Puerto Rico, you are in high demand.
There you go.
Can you talk about some of the challenges you faced in building your business? Because it's not right. It's not always as shiny as it looks, right? There's challenges along the way. So can you talk to us about some of those and how you manage them?
Oh my goodness. How much time do we have? I think that the most important thing for Sunir, my partner, and I, when we started the coaching academy and we started a staffing company, a national telehealth staffing company, utilizing our graduates, it was really about being surrounded by people who've done it before. And we really lean heavy on that because sometimes you don't know where to start. You don't know where your priorities are at, how to get started, and you're just kind of stuck in the daily system or the grind, and you're part of that system, and you're trying to figure out solutions in the beginning, and it's just everything in between is just crazy. And to have to take a step back and figure out the systems and ask people how to do things better and figure all that out. I think learning from other people, I think it really saved us a lot of time. And I think that that's probably the most important thing out of all of it. It's just to be around other coaches, other business people, other mentors, people who we trust, people who we know have like our best, intentions. I think that's probably the most important thing for me. That's why we were able to set up and I think be as successful as we are within 2 years.
Now, you talked about other companies. So just for the audience, you have AIR, which is all in remote, right? And that's where you coach people. You have a course, teach people how to get into telemedicine. Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
And then you also mentioned a staffing company. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, this one too kind of came by accident, I think, because we created this educational course and we were teaching people how to leverage their 51 licenses and learn all about telemedicine. And as we were doing that, we had a lot of new companies in their startup or building phase come to us and ask for our physicians. So of course, we were giving out, references, and we were making these connections. And we decided that people were asking for them in bulk. And there were also staffing companies who needed our doctors to staff their businesses. And when you have a bunch of folks who are nationally licensed, just a fraction of our physicians can take care of the country compared to several more. So we realized that we're able to staff people, and we were the larger numbers that we had. So we created a staffing company, and we invited those that were graduating or have graduated from a program to be part of the staffing company. And with that, we were able to negotiate bigger and like better deals, higher paid type of contracts, and put them together, give them better opportunities. And so we started doing that, and it just really blew up. It blew up within 10 months. it was obviously completely bootstrapped, and I think we hit like 1.2 million in revenue a couple of months ago. It's crazy.
Amazing.
But it's not because we were trying to be, business people or anything. I think we were just trying to help our doctors get jobs and realize that we got something special here, and we're able to staff all parts of the country with different types of jobs. And so, yeah, all that came from the passion of coaching, really.
Wow. That's amazing.
So what kind of advice would you give to somebody who is like considering starting a business, but scared or having kind of concerns? What would you say to them, looking back at yourself a couple of years ago?
Oh, wow. I think that a lot of physicians, they want to be perfect and they want to make sure everything is aligned before starting. And we did the complete opposite of that. We had no idea what we're doing, and we created this start date. It was a random start date. It's like August 21st or something like that. And we worked backwards from there. We said, hey, we think we have a good product. We think we can teach these folks. We don't know what we're going to teach it, how we're going to teach it. We have no real curriculum yet. And we just made a start date and said, we're going to do it. And we worked backwards. We found the people, and then that really put fire in their butt to like get it done. So I would recommend just maybe even if you're afraid to get started, maybe work backwards. Like start from a start date and create that LLC and kind of, you don't have to have anything. Like we didn't have anything. We didn't do anything right. I truly believe that. We were one of the guys that didn't do anything right. And it just happened because we had that start date and we had great advice from the beginning. And then we just kind of followed through on that.
Well, you also had a purpose. I mean, you also really, what I've heard in you and why you did the staffing company is to help physicians. And so you had a really strong purpose, and people can feel that, and they can feel that authenticity too. So I think that also comes through, regardless of whether or not you had a course, which a lot of us in this space, we build our courses as we go and we do the same thing, but having that big why and that purpose, people feel it.
Totally. Yeah, that is the reason why we keep doing things. And sometimes, I know coaches who believe that they could be making more doing other things. And I surely felt like that. Like the amount of time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears invested in this, I'm like, gosh, it'd be so much easier if I were just in the ER. So many times I thought that, or if I was just doing telemedicine on my own. But it really is that purpose and that drive when you see people that are doing well, they're successful after you've taught them. I think all of that just makes it all worth it for sure.
So we always ask 2 questions of our guests. So the first one is, what is your definition of wealth?
I think for me, it's about having that flexibility of doing whatever you want to do, when you want to do it, prioritizing what you want first. And people say time, but really it's a flexibility of time. And I felt that I got wealth in that way with telemedicine because I was able to do telemedicine on my own time. So obviously making money from it. So making as much or more than my brick and mortar. And so I didn't have to worry about the finances, but also I could now do everything I wanted to do first. I could schedule in my date nights with my wife, my drop-offs with my kids, all of the practices, and the school activities for my kids first, and just be present for them. And I think that being able to do that first and prioritize all that, and then just fit in like with work or for others, real estate, or, time to do other things. And I think that is what I would say makes me feel wealthy.
Awesome. So our second question is, what is one mindset, habit, or strategy that separates someone who is wealthy versus someone who is not?
Ooh, probably being open to opportunities. What I tell my members is the moment you say no to something, you've slammed that door shut, and you may never be able to open that door again. But just to think like, maybe, or I think I can, or maybe there's a way, or yes, if. I think if you start with yes, if, or yes, and, or yes, but, if there's a yes in front of it, then you're leaving that door open. And the more open opportunities you have, I think the more chance there is to succeed. So I tell my members, just try not to say no. And it really starts there.
Yeah, I love it. I like that. I can think of so many examples of people who've said no to opportunities. And like you said, that opportunity is no longer there.
Right.
So that's a good one.
And sometimes it's not the right timing, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to want to go back to it later down the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. So can you tell everyone where you can they can find out more about what you do and your companies?
Yeah, sure. So the website is allinremote.com. And if you're looking into just to try telemedicine on the side, we do have a course for that. It's the launch course. It's for those who want to do it right and compliantly, even if it's not going to be your full-time gig. And then we have for those who want to go all in. That's the elite course, and that's the real white glove service, 6-month course, give you everything you need to know, all the resources of telemedicine. You can at least focus on making as much as your current income, and then just wherever you want to take telemedicine after that, you'll have all the support. So there's two courses that you can choose from if you want to do it compliantly. Now, that said, you don't need to take courses. If you want to do a little bit of telemedicine, I would say just get licensed up in 5 or 10 states. Try it out, look for some job opportunities out there as an independent contractor. But if you want some guidance, it's allinremote.com.
Is a staffing company only for those who've gone through those programs?
Right now it is. And it's just because there's no fellowship or accelerated course like that, like anything like ours right now. So we feel like we've taught them very well how to be really, really good telemedicine or digital health experts. And so right now we're just taking from our members, but that might change.
Well, thank you so much, Takashi, for all your time and for sharing your story with us. It was really, I think, inspirational for a lot of people out there to hear what you're doing and to be able to, if you want time freedom or geographic freedom, to consider this alternative is really, I think, an awesome choice for a lot of people.
Thanks so much for having me again, folks. Can't wait to see you again.